everyone, my name is Elise. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing so good today. We are here to do maybe a very belated mid-year freakout tag. I might be the last person to put theirs up on YouTube, but I always like to film this video after I've done my best books of the year video, because the first question is, what is your favorite book of the year? And I don't want to deny any of the anticipation from my best books of the year so far video. So I like to film this one afterwards. So I am here today to do it. And I will say, normally I review all the questions again in advance and decide what books I'm going to talk about. I have not done that. I'm doing this a little bit loosey-goosey style. I am trying to film this really quickly on a Sunday morning while my husband is at a work meeting. Hence my hair's still wet and drying, and we're just gonna roll with it because I have a limited window to film it in. So we're gonna come up with the answers as I go, and maybe this will be even more accurate because I'm just going with my gut instinct on my picks for these questions. So we're gonna go ahead and start to get into it. I have my laptop down here below so I can actually look at the questions and maybe even try and find one of the answers if I need to look through my books really quickly. So we're gonna start off by talking about the creators of this tag. So they will be mentioned down below as well, but that is Chami and Earl Books. I'm not sure what year they started this in, but it feels like it's been around for a while, at least since I have been watching BookTube. Props to them for coming up with such a great tag that everyone wants to do every year. So first up, we have the best book I've read so far in 2024. And this, if you watch my last video, you know, is Enter Ghost by Isabella Hamad. Maybe I should move over so I can insert all the pictures. So Enter Ghost by Isabella Hamad, published by Grove Press. And yeah, I absolutely adored this book, as did a lot of people. It was nominated for the Women's Prize this year, amongst a few other prizes. It follows our main character, Sonia, who is returning back to Haifa to visit her sister and gets roped into a theatrical production of Hamlet that they are adapting to perform in the West Bank. And it's an amazing book about relationships, not necessarily romantic, although there is like some commentary on a previous romantic relationship that went badly, but it's about sisters, it's about your relationship with your parents, it's about your relationship with the place that you grew up in. It's a wonderful, wonderful book, and I really adored it. So that is definitely my favorite book of the year so far. Next up, we have the best sequel you've read so far, and I don't think I've read very many, which is not great because one of my goals this year is to finish 3 series, and yeah, when you see my goals video coming out at some point, it will not be pretty, let's tell you that. So I think from my recollection, I might have only read 2. One is the only series I've completed so far this year, and that is the Tea Dragon series. So I read the 3rd book earlier this year, which is the Tea Dragon Festival, I believe. Really enjoyed that. I think it was a great wrapping up. It kind of aged our 2 main characters a little bit. They take care of tea dragons, but they're also trying to navigate getting older and trying to find their place in the world. Really, really cozy. The art is beautiful, so definitely enjoyed that one. And then I did read Heartstopper Volume 5, enjoyed that as well. Of course, these are much beloved graphic novel series, so a lot of people recommend them, and it makes sense that these are the series that I've continued because those take a little less time to get through. So I read both of those and I loved both of those and would recommend them. Outside of that, I don't think I have read, okay, as I'm looking through, I have actually read a couple other sequels in series that are continuing, but I do think the 2 that I mentioned are my favorites so far. So the other ones, while I did enjoy, not as much as the 2 that I mentioned. So next question, let's see. We have new release you haven't read yet but want to. Ooh, there are so many. I have noticed as I was looking through my book journal, which is right here, that I have not been the best about reading my anticipated releases so far this year. I've just really started getting to some of them. So I will quickly mention a couple that I'm really anticipating. So the first is Piglet by Lottie Hazel. I really desperately want to read this, but I have been waiting to read it after I make my next 5-star predictions video because I want to make it a 5-star prediction. But I haven't finished my last round yet, so I haven't done that. But I want to read that one so desperately. It seems very plotty. It's about a woman who had a childhood name of Piglet, hence the title, and we see her in the future. She's about to get married. She's currently engaged, and her fiance comes out with like this big secret before they get engaged. She decides that she still wants to go through with the marriage, but she starts unraveling after that secret gets revealed, and it says that she starts to have a ravenous appetite. I think that's a very catchy blurb, and I'm really intrigued, and I think I could love it. So that one definitely. And then I also really want to read Cancel Culture. Those two are probably my most anticipated releases from the first half of the year. And that one follows a therapist who ends up making a scripted comment on, I think, like a news show that gets her canceled. And it's about her going through a depression after she's canceled. And then she meets a young girl one day and they start forming a friendship. And I think the young girl tries to help her like see the world through new eyes again and help reintegrate back into society. So really excited for that one because I like an interesting take on cancel culture and some of the problematic effects of that. So yeah, curious about those two in particular, so I won't mention any others. Next up, we have most anticipated release of the second half of the year. Oh my gosh, there's so many of these as well. So I come up with my most anticipated releases videos in thirds for the year. So the latest anticipated release video that I came out with goes through August. So there are definitely some books in there. I'll link that video down below that have not come out yet that I'm really excited for. And then I will be making another one for the last 4 months of the year. So maybe I'll give you 2 from each, 2 from the video that I've already made and 2 from the video that I will be making. So I think the 2 from the video that I've already made that I'm most excited for, let's see, maybe I'll say Bluff by Denez Smith. That's a poetry collection by Grey Wolf, and I think that comes out in August. I don't remember exactly when in August. Let me check. That's coming out on August 20th. I have read multiple of their other collections and really enjoyed them. My favorite being Don't Call Us Dead, and really excited for this new poetry collection from them. And I do believe he's covering the pandemic and then also the way that the Black Lives Matter movement took off during the pandemic. Can't wait. I'm sure he's going to do a great job talking about that. And then the other one that I'll mention, I suppose, is Mystery Lights. This is a short story collection, and it's by Lena Valencia and published by Tin House Books. It comes out on August 6th. And you might be thinking, aren't you not really enjoying short story collections this year? And that has been true. I've been struggling to get through them, but this is the only one that I have pre-ordered for this year, and I think it could be a really good fit for me. It almost has like a horror bent, and I think I need something just like really catching and trippy to keep me captivated throughout an entire collection, because my issue has been that like I'll read one and then set it down and not really feel the urge to pick it back up again. The collection as a whole is following women and girls as they navigate dangers both supernatural and existential. One of the stories has to do with a violent cult following from a viral TV show. There's a marriage between 2 ghost hunters that gets threatened when one of them loses the ability to see spirits, stuff like that. So I'm really excited to get this, and I am planning on trying to incorporate it into my October TBR when I solely read kind of like spooky or spooky adjacent type of things. So really excited for this one as well. And then in terms of the books that I'm excited for the last 4 months of the year, which I'll be coming out with a video probably in August, is probably May Our Joy Endure. This is by Kevin Lambert, and it's published by Biblioasis, and it's translated from the French by Donald Winkler. And this one, the premise just sounds right up my alley. It did win a ton of prizes in France. And this one is following our main character, Celine, who is a renowned architect. She starts unveiling her plans for the Webuy complex, which is like a mega project that she's coming out with in Montreal, which is her hometown. But instead of it being received as a triumph, as she thinks it should be, the project starts getting criticized by a lot of people, and they're accusing her of wanting to basically like gentrify and destroy the fabric of all of their neighborhoods. And she gets deposed as the CEO of her company. That's again in the blurb, so not a spoiler. And she's trying to make sense of her life again now that she has lost her job. The thing that I think is really captivating about this blurb, I'm going to read it to you, it's the second half, but it says that it moves between Celine's perspective and also the perspective of her critics, which I think is really fascinating in a format sense. But it's doing that too. It says, reveal both the ruthlessness of her methods and the brilliance of her aesthetic vision. Mere Joy Endure is a shrewd examination of the microcosm of the ultra-privileged and a dazzling social novel that depicts with razor-sharp acuity the terrible beauty of wealth, influence, and art. And I think that's what really sold me, and that we're going to get these two opposing perspectives, and those two opposing perspectives together is going to give us this nuanced take on privilege and wealth, and that just sounds so up my street. So I'm really excited for that one. I also enjoy the cover a lot as well, and that does matter. And then probably the other one that I'm really excited for is A Case of Matricide by Graham McCrae Burnett. This is also from Biblioasis. So they just are having a good year for me. And partially I'm really excited for this one because I've loved Case Study this year. And so I'm just really anticipating reading more stuff by Graham McCrae Burnett. And this one is following a detective, inspector. He has taken on the case of a local woman who claims that her son is plotting to kill her. So I think that's fascinating already. It has some of the elements that I really loved from Case Study. So really, really excited for this one. And then question number 5 we have is the biggest disappointment. And while there have been some books that I definitely didn't enjoy this year, the one that I think stands out in my mind as the biggest disappointment, so like I thought I was really gonna love it and then I didn't, is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I know people are gonna not like that, but I really had high hopes. I thought I was gonna give it 5 stars. It's so universally beloved. It won the Women's Prize the year that it came out, and I just thought it was a sure win for me. And it just did not have the emotional resonance that I feel like it had for other people, and I felt very disappointed in that. I also didn't understand some of the plot choices based on the themes of that book. The ending didn't really hit for me in the way that I think it was supposed to. I don't know, I was left very confused. I loved getting to follow our main character, but I feel like it didn't lean maybe like as far as I was wanting and showing what a force she was, and we still got too much like faff about her family that I had like no interest in. So yeah, unpopular opinion there, but that's definitely my biggest disappointment. Biggest surprise, I would definitely say, is The Center by Aisha Manazar Siddiqui. This one is my second favorite book of the year so far, and I really picked this up on a whim. I was in a reading slump and just needed an audiobook that was like available now and something that I thought I could have some interest in. And the premise of this is really cool. It's about a language institute that claims to be able to teach you a language fluently in 10 days. It's very private, very exclusive. Our main character goes there to learn German. And I loved this book. I loved all the themes that it was talking about. I thought it was really well executed. The character was intriguing and complicated, and I wanted to learn more about her. So it was just great all around and really surprised me in being my second best book of the year so far. So definitely that one is the biggest surprise. Number 7, favorite new author, debut or new to you. And normally this question is a little bit easier to answer for me because I tend to read multiple books from authors. And at this point, I have not read an author twice this year so far, which is very strange for me. So it's hard for me to pick. And of course, I kind of want to say like, okay, Isabella Hamad is probably a new favorite author because that's my favorite book of the year so far, and I do really want to read The Parisian. And she's coming out with a nonfiction book called Recognizing the Stranger on Palestine and Narrative. This is getting published by Grove later this year. I think it's getting published, let me just check the date, September 24th. This will also be in my anticipated releases video that I'm coming out with next. But I really want to pick that up as well. So I think I'm going to say her for now because I just loved the writing in Enter Ghost and am planning on reading multiple other books by her this year. The other one I will say is I've sort of been claiming it's going to be my year of Melissa Febos. I loved Bodywork this year. That is my 4th favorite book so far. So I'm really just fitting all my favorite books in this video. But I loved that book, and I have another of her books on my shelf, and there are more that I want to get to. So we'll say Isabella Hamad and Melissa Febos for that question. All right, so next question, let's see, question number 8 is newest fictional crush. So I always say Stoker from the Veronica Speedwell series by Deanna Raybourn, and I did read the 9th book in that series earlier this year. And I know it says newest, but this is the one that I have, and I stand by Stoker. I mean, Veronica too. So both of them, I just love them as characters. I think they both possess qualities that I would really like in a partner, and that's the answer that I'm sticking with. So next up is newest favorite character. And oh God, I just don't want to repeat the same books over and over, but it is true that my 2 characters that really stand out for me this year are Sonia from Enter Ghost and the main character from The Center. I can't remember her name because it's been a while now since I read it. But those 2 female characters, I felt like were just very singular in their voice, and their personalities were so clear. And they had that good mix of complicated, so they were interesting to follow, but still believable as main characters. So really enjoyed them. And it's also interesting because they each have kind of a selfish bent to them, but there's also a lot of curiosity and reflection and openness as well. It's a very intriguing nuance that I think I just particularly like in a main character. So I'm gonna have to say the 2 of them. Question number 10, a book that made you cry. So I know I've cried a couple of times throughout the year, but the book that I just remember me crying the most by far is, what's it called? Oh my God, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by, oh my God, what is her name? She's the very famous one, Taylor Jenkins Reid. Oh my God. So definitely that book. I cried so much. I felt a little emotionally manipulated by that book, but I think I cried 5 times, and sad tears, happy tears, all the tears in between. That book broke my tear ducts. So yeah, that one definitely made me cry the most. Again, I know I've cried for other things, but that one stands out in my mind. Question 11 is book that made you happy. Ooh, I mean, Heartstopper and Tea Dragon Society and Veronica Speedwell, those books all make me happy. Another book that had a very happy tone that I read recently is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I have the Hodor editions, and this book is very, I think I said it was TJ Klune-like when I did it in my wrap-up video. But it's very found family, very queer, and has the sense that all the characters are going to come together and be there for each other in the end. You can kind of have faith in that. So that one also made me very happy. I'm sure there are other ones that I am not thinking of as well, but those are the ones that first come to mind. So next up we have number 12, the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. Ooh, I do love Piglet. I think that cover is gorgeous. It's part of why I got the hardcover because I just adore that cover so much. I love the cover of The Center, which you haven't seen me haul yet, but I have bought this book. I bought the UK cover because I love it so much. And then I do also already have my copy of Mystery Lights. the short story collection that I was anticipating, and that one I think is a really gorgeous cover as well. So I'll go with those three and stop there. And then my favorite review of the year. I think I said this last year. My favorite videos to film are my 2 books, 1 title videos. So the one that I just did on consent is definitely my favorite video that I've done this year, and my favorite reviews that I've given of books. Just a really interesting lens to think about a book through, and it engages that part of my brain that I really like when reading. So that is definitely my favorite review, or video, I guess. And number 14, last one, is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Whew! I will say, definitely this one right here, which is Wellness by Nathan Hill. I have started this. I'm about 300 pages in, which is not even halfway, and I'm really loving this. You're gonna hear more about this in my goals check-in video, but I need to finish this by the end of the year. Not just because I'm loving it and want to finish it, but because I need to chip away at my big books goal this year. So definitely this one. Also, that's the last 5-star book prediction that I need to read for that last video that I've done. So trying to get through that essay collection as well. But it's also a long one, and I'm going slowly but surely through essay collections. So those are the 2 that I feel like are most pressing. But I definitely have lots of others that I really want to get to by the end of the year. So there's a lot. But we'll leave it there, my friends. Hopefully you were down for the little more impromptu version of this. Please let me know what your answers to these questions would be. And also let me know if you have read any of the books that I mentioned and what you thought about them. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.